I believe that all students of all ethnicities should be seeing people of color in leadership roles and not hired just to be the custodial staff or the secretary or the help, the educational assistant, but actually at the front of the classroom and leading the classroom, leading the school. It's important for students to understand different styles of leadership, and whether that comes from a Black woman, an Asian man, whoever it might be, students need to become accustomed to it, because that's our world. Our world is changing in a way that students aren't just going to see themselves, white students aren't just going to see themselves anymore at the front of leadership opportunities, and for our students to see people that look like them in those roles is very motivating. It shows our students and kids that look like us that they can do it too, and they don't have to take secondary roles. They can be the main character, they can be the lead of anything they kind of put their mind to.
Representation is really, really something that I've struggled with being in Edmonton. You're right, there's not a lot of figures out here who look like my kids, right? So for example, my kids' school, I don't think I've ever seen a Black teacher in this school, right? And so I find that my children are, they've struggled, they've had moments where they have felt not really belonging in the environment that they are in.
It used to be that you would see only a certain type of Black person on TV, and when you finally saw, let's say, a dark-skinned Black person or somebody who looked like you, it clicks in that moment. Same thing with schooling and education and just representation of what you're learning. When you see somebody who looks like you and you make that connection that, oh, this is something that I can be, I think that's when it's really integral to a learning process, and to really like understanding that I belong in this society, I belong here, and there are places for me to escalate from.
I think having that representation in our education system is really valuable, because it definitely was something that was absent when I grew up, and I think that it kind of left me not feeling like I was sort of good enough as a person, or able to do the kinds of things that other kids were able to do. And so having that for my kids has been fantastic. My daughter is lucky enough to go to a school, because it is a French immersion school. There are some Black students as well as actually Black teachers there. And that's kind of been a blessing, because that definitely was not something that I had. And she has been lucky enough to have a Black teacher for 3 years of her school so far.
I mean, it matters to have people who see things or experience the world in a similar way that you do. Your racial identity really does have an impact in how you see the world and how you experience the world. And then also just, it's really nice, sometimes you just don't have to explain things and people just understand because they're from a similar community.
It is something that matters to me. I think it's very important, especially like you said at elementary school. I think it's very important to have people who look like you, teaching you and helping you grow. Mentors, people who are wiser than you and can help you become a better person. Representation does have a big role to play in that.
It's important for them to feel as though they can achieve anything. And it's more than just the words on the page. Like, we read these books to them that say, you can do anything, but you don't see everybody doing anything. I think that's one of the amazing things about people who grew up in a population where they are the majority, of literally going to doctors and having a selection of doctors who are Black, who have secretaries who are serving other Black people, you know? So it's important. It's important for them to be taken care of while they're in those environments by people that look like them. And that's the one thing I still remember from my daughter's school was they had the musical theater performance going on, and the secretary was pulling back the other little girl's hair and making it all neat and pretty, and my daughter goes up there looking all like a frisbee, and they would just have no idea where to start, you know, or even to consider that maybe, you know, this little girl should be primped as well. So having that in the classroom would be huge.
I work in an elementary school, so I'm lucky enough to have had the privilege to be the first Black teacher for all of my students in grade 3, and having some of those same students again in grades 5 and 6, I got to be their first Black teacher again, and hopefully that will continue as they go through the school system. But representation is important for kids to be able to see themselves in me, especially my young Black girls that I've taught. There is a relationship and a bond that I had with them while I was in the classroom that was different than everyone else, because I understood what they were going through. If we went on the swimming field trip, I would remind them to bring their swim cap so that their hair didn't get messed up. If their skin was a little ashy, I'd hand over the lotion that I know works for Black skin to say, don't use that stuff, try this. This will work for your skin. It'll give it the moisture it needs. So we were able to connect on a level that was very special.
I think representation matters in that it's important for youth to feel proud of who they are. It's important for them to know that they are not pigeonholed into one category of occupational opportunity. Not all Black people have to become cleaners. Not all Filipino people have to become hotel workers or things of that nature, right? So it's important to see people like you in different areas and different fields, so you know that you're not limited in your options. So in school, this is where the kids learn and want to make decisions on where they're going to go in the future. So seeing representation in any and every area they can, so they know that they are not limited in their growth, is very important.
One of the reasons why we need to be in classrooms as teachers is because it is important for students of every racial background to see us as intellectual, as leaders, as people setting the agenda from a young age, so that when those people enter university and have an African professor for the first time, hopefully, that won't seem strange to them and they won't reject this person, but also so that when they have an African supervisor at work, or they're seeking to hire somebody, or maybe they're a bank officer and they have to give somebody a loan, or they're looking to vote for somebody, they've already had the experience of understanding that we as African people embody the full range of human potential.
I absolutely was encouraged by my teachers to pursue post-secondary education. I always got good grades in school. My family is from Ghana, where education is the most important thing, period. And that's for whether you have money, you don't have money, education, studying, study hard is my was my family motto growing up. I think about all the time. I tell this story of my dad ran into my class in grade 7. You drop your kids off on the first day of school and he runs into the class and says, study hard, and then ran away. And I will remember that forever. It's something that I've taken in my life. And so I do study hard, because that's always what's been pushed on me. So I think teachers understood that, saw that, and always have encouraged me to do just that.
That for sure, I'll give them a lot of credit. I know I had a physics teacher that was really impactful in pushing me in that direction. A math teacher that really influenced my path and trajectory. And yeah, those two definitely stood out. And coaches that kind of pushed me forward. And I always had to go back to beyond teaching is my parents. My parents were, you have to go to university, you have to go to college, you have to do something post-secondary. And a huge, huge impact in my life.
Yes, they definitely do. They teach us, they tell us everything we need to know, like credits, graduation, which classes are important, which ones are essential, which ones are sort of extra. So they do play a very important part in post-secondary education and the preparation that comes toward that.
Despite being one of the only Black students in my school, I was very, very well supported by my educators, who looked at me and saw that there might be a teacher in there. And since I was in the 4th grade, I've wanted to be a principal of a school. And having said that to my teachers out loud, that was something they were trying to help me manifest, was you got to get in front of a classroom. We'll write you letters, we'll support you, come student teach, come be a substitute. And even now when I see my old teachers, I thank them, because they really pulled that out of me and encouraged me to do what I'm doing now, and supported both my brother and I on our own journeys. David was in the radio and television program, aspiring to be a journalist, and they saw that in him too. So they gave him opportunities to lead in the school. He was the newspaper lead, and he was in drama, and he got to do all the things surrounding reporting things about our school. So it was really cool to be given those opportunities by our teachers who saw special things in us. I know that's not the norm, unfortunately. I know that's not something that every child is privy to and is privileged to have, is people rallying behind you all the time. But we were very lucky to be supported that way.
0. Encouraged me to pursue higher education. Big fat 0.
It was always a must, not necessarily from my teachers or from my peers, but my sister went to university, my other sister went to university, so I just figured that's what I'm gonna do. Whether if I knew what I was gonna do or not, I was gonna be there. I didn't realize until looking back and hearing stories of other places that I was actually discouraged in grade 9 by my, what's it called? The counselor there saying, you know, I can go to the enrichment program at the University of Winnipeg, but I probably wouldn't go there later on. You know, and I didn't realize at that time, like, okay, I'll just go and see what it's like, you know? But I don't think I let it faze me, because that was the history in my household, is that we go to university and that's just what's expected, so I did.
I wouldn't say that within the educational space I was encouraged towards building towards post-secondary, but I believe the teachers always wanted the students to do the best that they can and to perform well, but it wasn't often articulated that, you know, there's a goal here, an aspiration that could actually create more opportunity for you.
Whether or not teachers were trying to motivate me more or less than the other students to go into post-secondary, I can't say. I don't know what their conversations were like with other students. I know for myself, post-secondary wasn't a thing that really came up often. It wasn't a conversation that was had at school very much in terms with teachers, in terms of career and future planning. But also at the same time, at home. My family never really said, you know, go to college, go to university. It was just get a good job. So I think on both ends of the spectrum, being at school, I think that those conversations about what my future opportunities could look like weren't being had, but also at home, a clear definition of a good job and steps to be taken to get a good job, also that discussion wasn't being had either.
I never really thought about it, why teachers would not push you to want more, to do more. You would think that as educators, for especially, I always went to like public school, like that, they would want you to have further education.
And I've seen it as working with immigrants. A lot of the black immigrants that come in, they come to us and say the teachers think they cannot do well. So if they want to share their dreams, I want to be, for example, I want to be a doctor. They'll say, no, you can't be a doctor. You just focus on this because this is where you belong.
I would attribute most of the drive towards having the opportunity to go to post-secondary to coming from my parents. They were the voices in my life, the black voices in my life that, hey, if you work hard and go after something, you could have an opportunity to create something more for yourself.
We have to nurture that as parents, you know, to encourage them to see that whatever the mainstream society might see in you, live your dream. And if your dream is higher education and you want to be a doctor or physicist or whatever, don't let them railroad you into high jump or basketball. You know, that's a distraction. Not that you don't want to be fit, but you choose the grounds on which you become fit.
Now, what happens for us? Well, there's a very good chance that you get asked if you join the sports team. The automatic expectation that you must be good with your body. Now, it is good to excel in sports. It's good to just have fun in sports. I'm not in any way disputing that or taking away from that. But if you're only told that's where your gifts lie, then it is because of a belief that the body and the brain are separate. And the better you are with your body, the less likely it is that you're good with your brain. Because the people who approach you to join the basketball team probably didn't ask you to join the Science Olympics team.
One of our sons is a soccer player. He was actually a professional soccer player. And I remember when he was in school, he was in high school, there wasn't much encouragement from the school, the teachers, in terms of his pursuing his education. And it was mostly, oh no, you are getting 70s and 80s, you're good, you're good, you're good. And so he would say to me, Mom, why are you trying to make me work harder? My teachers think. I said, well, I think I know you better than your teachers. So I've got dreams for you. And so if I have dreams for you, I know you need to do much better than that. So sometimes I find that, they don't encourage them, especially when they are into sports and things like that. They would rather they focus on that than on the academic work.
I mean, I pursued other things besides track. Like I did yearbook, I stopped band. Yeah, I didn't have any teachers that would push me academically to do more. No, that wasn't, no, that did not happen.
There's not many good reasons to quote George W. Bush. But there is one, and I'm going to give it. Years ago, he referred in a speech to the soft bigotry of low expectations. So if a teacher sees that your son is getting 59 and never challenges him to get better and doesn't call you to say, Mr. Jackson, your son is only getting 59. What are we going to do? I'm here to help. If instead he thinks, oh, he's doing well. Yeah, he's working at capacity. Good for him. You know he can tie his shoes in grade 12. Okay, awesome. But the stereotypes prevail that, for instance, students, East Asian and South Asian students are going to be super geniuses. Well, I'm a teacher and I can tell you that the full range of what any group can do is the full range of what humans as a species can do. So nobody has a monopoly. I saw people from every background, excel, and every background fail. And there was no magic group. That's a fantasy. What is true is that if you come from a home that has high expectations, high demands, and that teachers share those expectations, then those students are very likely to succeed because everybody assumes you should be succeeding.